Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're going to be talking about something that just dropped this morning.
Yeah.
It's already making waves, kind of shaking up the tech world a little bit.
Yeah. Big news.
We're talking about a company out of China called DeepSeek,
Okay.
and they are turning heads with two new AI models, DeepSeek V3 and DeepSeek R1.
Okay. So V3 and R1, interesting.
And our sources for this are really hot off the press.
Yeah. How hot?
Both from today, January 27th, 2025.
Oh, wow.
One from the Economic Times
Okay.
and another one from AP News.
Great sources.
And what has caught everyone's attention
Yeah. What is it?
is DeepSeek is claiming that these models can match or maybe even beat the performance of the big U.S. players, like the big names that we all know,
Wow.
but at a fraction of the cost.
So cheaper and better? That's a big claim.
That's a big claim. So is this real disruption, or are we getting ahead of ourselves?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to try to find out today.
Let's dive in.
So maybe we can start with the cost thing.
Sure. Because that's what's really kind of like got my attention, at least.
Yeah, definitely eye-catching, right? What's really fascinating to me is that they're not just saying, oh, we're a little bit cheaper.
Right.
We're talking about a difference of millions versus billions of dollars in terms of development.
Wow.
And for DeepSeek V3 in particular, they're saying that they trained it using NVIDIA H800 chips
Okay.
for less than $6 million.
Wow.
Put that in perspective. Imagine like a small research lab
Right.
or even just like a very well-funded university department
Right.
being able to compete with the giants in Silicon Valley.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of shift that this represents.
Yeah. I mean, that is a game changer for sure, if that's really true.
Yeah.
It's not just all talk either.
Right.
DeepSeek's AI assistant app, which is powered by this V3 model,
Okay.
has already shot to the top of the Apple App Store
Really?
here in the U.S.,
In the U.S.? Okay.
even overtaking ChatGPT.
Wow. So they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty bold statement right there in the marketplace.
Yeah, for sure.
But of course, with any big claim like this, there's always going to be pushback.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when something sounds too good to be true,
Yeah.
people start asking questions.
So what are some of those questions that people are asking?
Well, the Economic Times article that we looked at highlights some of that skepticism.
Okay.
Alexander Wang, he's the CEO of Scale AI, which is a pretty prominent company in the AI world.
Uh-huh.
He's gone so far as to say that DeepSeek has somehow gotten their hands on 50,000 NVIDIA H100 chips.
Oh, wow.
Now, these are top-of-the-line chips,
Yeah.
and they're subject to some pretty strict U.S. export controls.
Right.
So
Yep.
to get that many would be a significant violation.
Yeah.
However, it's important to note that Wang hasn't actually provided any evidence to support this claim.
So it's kind of like an accusation.
Yeah, you could say that.
We'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Definitely developing story.
Yeah, but even putting the chips aside, some financial analysts aren't convinced by the cost claims either.
Interesting.
The Bernstein analysts, who are quoted in the Economic Times article as well,
Wow.
point out that DeepSeek has been kind of vague about the total training costs for both V3 and R1.
Oh, so just focusing on one piece of the puzzle.
They focus on the computing power, which makes sense.
Makes sense.
But what about all the other stuff that goes into building such a sophisticated AI model?
Right, like all the hidden costs?
Right, like what are some of those?
Well, for example, you've got data acquisition,
Okay,
cleaning that data, annotating it.
right,
You've got salaries of top-tier engineers and researchers.
of course.
You've even got the cost of running experiments and refining those models over time.
Yeah,
All of that adds up.
yeah, for sure.
So while that $6 million figure is really attention-grabbing,
Yeah, it definitely is.
we need to look at the full picture before we go crowning DeepSeek the champion of cost-effective AI.
So where did this seemingly cost-effective company even come from?
Right, like they didn't just appear out of nowhere.
It's not like magic.
No magic here.
Oh.
The Economic Times actually gives us a little bit of background on DeepSeek's origins.
Okay.
The company was founded in 2023 by a guy named Liang Wenfeng.
Okay.
Now, he is also a co-founder of a quantitative hedge fund called Highflyer.
Okay, a hedge fund.
Yeah, and this isn't your typical Wall Street hedge fund.
Okay.
Highflyer was known for using a lot of AI in their trading strategies.
Interesting.
So Liang clearly has a strong background in both finance and artificial intelligence.
So he's got the finance side and the tech side.
Yeah, a powerful combination.
So then why the shift from making money in the markets to building these cutting-edge AI models?
Right. Why the change? That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Highflyer announced back in 2023 that they were shifting their focus. They were moving away from trading
Mm-hmm.
and towards something that they called an independent research group to explore the essence of AGI. Yeah, AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence.
Okay.
And it's basically the holy grail of AI research.
The Holy Grail.
Yeah, it's this idea of creating an AI that can learn and solve problems across a ton of different domains, just like a human being.
Wow, so that was their goal even before DeepSeek.
Yeah, it seems like they were aiming really high even before DeepSeek was officially formed.
That's wild, but also there's this kind of like connection to the Chinese government, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's where things get a little bit more complicated. Geopolitics start to enter the picture.
Right.
The Economic Times mentions that Liang attended a closed-door symposium
Okay.
hosted by Chinese Premier Li Qiang.
Okay.
And this was on the exact day that DeepSeek R1 was released publicly.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is not necessarily proof of anything,
Right.
but it does suggest that DeepSeek's success might be seen as strategically valuable by the Chinese government.
So potentially like a national champion type of situation.
Yeah, you could see it that way.
That brings us to the Sputnik moment analogy.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of popping up everywhere.
It's a popular comparison.
In the AP News piece,
Yeah.
venture capitalist Mark Andreessen compares DeepSeek's sudden emergence
Okay.
to the launch of the Sputnik satellite by the Soviet Union back in 1957.
Oh, yeah. I remember learning about that in history class.
That event basically kicked off the space race.
The space race between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
History repeating itself.
Yeah, maybe. And Andreessen isn't the only one making that comparison.
Right.
There's this feeling that DeepSeek's achievements,
Okay.
especially if they can actually deliver on those cost claims,
Right, if they can really do it for that cheap.
could be a major wake-up call for the U.S. and other Western nations that have been seen as the leaders in AI development.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely challenges the existing power dynamics.
So are we watching the beginning of a new AI race,
Yeah.
this time between the U.S. and China?
Possibly.
And if so, what are the stakes?
Well, that is the billion or maybe even trillion-dollar question.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake here, economically and geopolitically.
Of course.
The AP News article really dives into some of the potential ramifications,
Okay.
with experts weighing in from both sides of the issue.
Right.
Some people, like Mark Andreessen, argue that the U.S. government's attempts to regulate the AI industry
Okay.
might actually hinder American companies
Really?
and give an advantage to their Chinese counterparts.
Interesting.
They're worried that too much regulation will stifle innovation and will accidentally hand over leadership in AI to China.
Wow, so it's like a balancing act.
It is a very delicate balance.
Yeah, but there are other viewpoints too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Not everyone thinks that this is a clear-cut case of the U.S. falling behind.
Right. It's not a simple story.
So what are some of those other viewpoints?
Well, Gregory Allen, he's a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
Okay.
He offered a slightly different perspective
Okay.
in the AP News piece.
Uh-huh.
He suggested that DeepSeek's announcement might be timed strategically to counter U.S. export controls on those advanced chips we talked about.
Oh, interesting.
It could be a way for China to show off its ability to innovate in AI, even with those restrictions in place.
Well, like a counter move.
Exactly.
It's like they're playing chess.
Yeah, it's a high-stakes game for sure.
So we have this really interesting mix
It is fascinating.
of technological advancement, economic disruption, and geopolitical intrigue,
Yeah, it's all connected.
all swirling around this relatively young company.
It's a lot to take in.
And we've really only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, we've only just begun.
Now let's dive into the specifics of DeepSeek's technological approach,
Yep.
because that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, let's get into the details.
What sets them apart from the competition?
Right, what are they doing that others aren't?
What's their secret sauce?
Yeah, let's find out.
One of the most striking things about DeepSeek's approach is their commitment to what they call open source.
Open source. Interesting.
They're not just building powerful AI
Right.
models. They're making key parts of these models accessible and modifiable by others.
Wow, that's pretty unusual.
Now they haven't released their training data,
Right.
which is like the lifeblood of any AI model.
Makes sense.
But this open source strategy is still a pretty bold move in such a competitive field.
Yeah, very bold.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not just building powerful AI.
Right.
We're opening it up for others to learn from and contribute to.
It's a very different philosophy
Yeah.
from what we see with the big tech companies.
Yeah, it's much more secretive usually.
Much more guarded.
So this is really shaking things up.
Oh, yeah, it has the potential to be a real game changer.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well, this open source approach could really speed up AI advancements
Oh,
on a global scale
wow.
by sharing their knowledge and their tools.
Okay.
DeepSeek might be accidentally encouraging collaboration and innovation in ways that we hadn't really seen before.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a world where researchers and developers from all over the world can build on each other's work,
Uh-huh.
pushing the boundaries of AI much faster.
That's a pretty exciting prospect.
It is.
But I imagine there are also some concerns about this kind of widespread access
Okay.
to powerful AI.
Yeah.
Earlier, we talked about the potential for misuse
Right.
by malicious actors.
Uh-huh.
So could DeepSeek's open source approach accidentally make it easier for someone to develop AI applications that are harmful?
It's a legitimate concern,
Yeah.
and it's something that the AI community needs to talk about openly and honestly.
Okay.
We need to figure out ways to mitigate those risks.
Right.
But it's important to remember that technology in itself isn't good or bad.
Right.
It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
So while we need to be aware of the potential downsides, we shouldn't let fear stop progress.
Absolutely. We need to find that balance
Yeah,
between progress and responsibility.
exactly. And that's where the transparency part of DeepSeek's approach is so important,
Yeah, how so?
by making their models more open and accessible. Yeah.
They're inviting scrutiny from the wider AI community,
Okay.
and this could lead to more robust and ethical development practices
Right.
as researchers and developers from all over the world can work together to identify and address potential problems.
So it's like a global peer review process for AI.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, and this type of collaborative approach could be really important in navigating those tricky ethical challenges that AI brings up.
Right.
We're talking about things like bias and algorithms, the impact of automation on jobs,
Right.
even the possibility of AI being used in ways that violate human rights.
Yeah, those are some big questions.
Yeah, are not easy questions to answer,
Yeah.
and they need to be considered from a lot of different perspectives.
So DeepSeek's arrival
Yeah.
has not only disrupted the tech world, but it's also made us think about some fundamental questions
Yeah,
about the future of AI and its place in society.
definitely a wake-up call. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah, a lot of info.
We talked about DeepSeek's explosive entry into the AI scene.
It's been quite an entrance.
Those impressive but controversial claims about being cost-effective,
Yeah.
their interesting origins,
Yeah, where they come from.
and possible ties to the Chinese government, and this bold open-source approach
A lot to unpack.
to AI development.
Yeah,
But what does this all mean for the average person?
right. What's the takeaway for the everyday user?
Why should we care about this AI showdown that's happening on the global stage?
Big questions.
That's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
You know, it's easy to get lost in all the tech stuff and the politics, but I think it's important to ask, what does this mean for us?
For the everyday users of technology, right?
Exactly like you and me using this AI stuff every day.
It's a great point. I mean, AI is everywhere these days, whether we realize it or not.
It really is. Think about the apps we use.
The way businesses work,
Right.
even healthcare.
AI is changing everything.
It's already having a huge impact, and it's only going to get bigger.
Absolutely.
Self-driving cars,
Yeah.
personalized medicine,
Wow.
even the way we learn and have fun.
It's mind-blowing.
AI could revolutionize pretty much everything.
It really could.
So this competition
Yeah.
between DeepSeek and those U.S. companies,
Uh-huh.
it's not just about who builds the fanciest AI.
Right.
It's about shaping the future.
Exactly. The future of AI and its impact on society.
And that's what makes DeepSeek's approach so interesting to me, at least.
Yeah.
If they could really make this cutting-edge AI,
Yeah.
but at a fraction of the cost, it could democratize the whole field.
Democratize AI. What does that actually look like?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I mean, imagine a world where smaller companies,
Okay.
research institutions, even just individual developers,
Yeah.
they all have access to the same powerful tools that were once only for the big guys, right? The companies with billions to spend.
Exactly. That's the potential here.
So it levels the playing field.
Exactly. It could lead to a huge wave of innovation.
Wow.
People from all walks of life contributing to the AI revolution.
That's a pretty inspiring vision.
It is?
But I can also see some downsides.
Oh, for sure.
Like earlier we mentioned malicious actors.
Right. Could someone use this technology for harm?
Yeah. Could DeepSeek's open source approach accidentally make it easier
Yeah.
for someone to create dangerous AI?
It's a valid concern, And it's one the AI community needs to be proactive about addressing.
So having open conversations about the risks.
Yeah, and coming up with safeguards to minimize those risks.
Right, but at the same time,
Yeah,
we shouldn't let fear hold us back.
exactly. Technology itself isn't inherently good or evil.
Right. It's all about how we use it.
Exactly. We need to find that balance between progress and responsibility.
Right, and that's where the transparency of DeepSeek's approach is so important.
Right, because by making their models more open, they're opening themselves up to scrutiny from the whole AI community.
Exactly, and that could lead to better, more ethical development practices.
Yeah, with researchers all over the world collaborating to find and fix potential problems.
So it's like a global peer review.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and this kind of collaboration could be essential when
Yeah.
it comes to the tricky ethical questions AI raises.
Like what kind of questions?
Well, like bias in algorithms,
Yeah.
the effect of automation on jobs,
Right.
even the possibility of AI being used to violate human rights.
These are big questions.
Huge questions and not easy ones to answer.
Not at all.
It really needs input from all sorts of different perspectives.
I agree.
So DeepSeek hasn't just disrupted the tech world.
Ah,
They've made us face some fundamental questions
right.
about AI's future role in society.
It's a big wake-up call.
It is. So DeepSeek's arrival has really shaken things up,
No doubt about it.
and it's going to be fascinating to watch how this all unfolds.
Absolutely. A lot of unknowns still.
To wrap up this part of our dive,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I think the biggest thing to remember is that AI is no longer some futuristic fantasy.
It's
It's here.
It's here.
It's evolving rapidly.
Yeah.
And it's already having a major impact on our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to stay informed.
Stay engaged.
Yes. Engage in these conversations
Right.
and really think critically about the future we want to create with this technology.
Well said. Now, on the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's explore what DeepSeek's open source approach could mean for AI development
Okay.
and the global balance of power in this rapidly changing field.
Sounds good.
So we've talked about the good and the bad of this open source approach,
Yeah.
but I want to zoom out a bit.
Okay.
How could this strategy really impact the global AI landscape?
It's a great question. And I think we're just starting to see the ripples from DeepSeek's entrance.
Yeah.
For a long time, AI development was in the hands of a few big companies, mostly in the U.S.
The big guys.
Exactly. But DeepSeek is shaking things up.
Yeah, like throwing open the doors and saying, come on in.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Is it really open to everyone?
That's a good point. They've shared some of their models,
Right.
but there are still questions about how open they really are,
Yeah, like they haven't released their training data.
which is the heart of any AI model.
Exactly. And some people are saying even their open source code might have limits built in.
So maybe not a completely level playing field after all.
Maybe not.
Hmm.
But even so, DeepSeek's move towards transparency could shift the balance of power in the AI world.
How so?
Well, it could empower smaller companies, research groups, even individuals to compete with the giants.
Interesting.
We could see a much more diverse and dynamic AI ecosystem as a result.
That would be exciting. So a whole new wave of innovation.
Exactly.
But how are the big players reacting to this?
It's a mixed bag. Some are embracing open source,
Okay.
seeing it as a chance to collaborate and speed up progress.
Makes-
Others are more hesitant, worried about losing their advantage.
Yeah.
And then you have some who are actively trying to undermine DeepSeek.
Really?
Yeah, maybe see them as a threat.
So it's a real power struggle.
Yeah, it's getting intense.
Well, we talked about how this could challenge U.S. leadership in AI.
Right. Big concern for some.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about national strategy and economics, too.
Absolutely. AI is a strategic asset with implications for everything from military power to economic growth.
Wow, it's bigger than just cool tech.
It is.
Yeah.
And DeepSeek has shown how important government policies are in supporting AI innovation.
So is it a winner-take-all situation? Or is there room for everyone to work together?
That's the million-dollar question, and there's no easy answer.
Right.
We're seeing countries fight for dominance, investing heavily in research and trying to attract the top talent.
The AI brain drain.
Exactly. But at the same time, there's this growing awareness that we need global cooperation to tackle the big challenges like climate change and pandemics.
Yeah, those problems don't care about borders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And AI can help find solutions, but it requires countries to work together.
So it's a complex situation with both risks and opportunities.
Definitely a lot to consider.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one big thought you want to leave our listeners with? Something that'll really stick with them?
You know what I find most fascinating DeepSeek has forced us to ask some really basic questions about innovation and technology.
Yeah.
They've proven that disruption can come from anywhere.
Right, not just Silicon Valley.
Exactly. And challenging the status quo can lead to huge leaps forward.
So don't be afraid to shake things up.
Exactly. And they've shown that open collaboration can be a powerful engine for change.
It's a whole new way of thinking about progress.
It is. And whether DeepSeek ultimately succeeds or fails almost doesn't matter.
How so?
They've already changed the game.
Hmm.
The AI world is different now.
Wow, that's a powerful message.
It is, and I think it's relevant for everyone.
Yeah, it reminds us that we're living in a time of incredible change, and the future is far from certain.
Right.
The choices we make today will determine what that future looks like.
It's up to us.
DeepSeek's story shows that even a small player can make a big difference.
For sure.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the exciting world of AI.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.